What's up guys, it's Tom here and welcome to a brand new Liverpool news video where we will have to talk again about the Odegaard handball incident, which was again a refereeing howler directly impacting the result of another Liverpool game, and Chris Kavanagh didn't award the penalty where Odegaard clearly multiple times touches the ball with his hand. And what is even worse, because in normal time you could maybe say that Odegaard was falling down and he touched the ground, but the VAR referee David Coote and Lee Betts didn't overturn the decision. They didn't send Kavanagh to the monitor because in the replays it was clear as day that Odegaard didn't fall to the ground. He just stumbled because Salah brilliantly skilled him, and Odegaard touches the ball with his hand multiple times, stopping Salah from getting the ball. And now the PGMOL chief Webb, 3 weeks after the incident, he has the cheek to come out and say, oh well, you know what, the referee should have given a penalty to Liverpool for that. That is absolutely disgraceful that Webb is leading the referees union like this. The PGMOL is in the worst possible hands, because you can't do this as a leader of an organization because it filters down. You know, the referees look up to Webb. He was probably the most famous and the most high profile Premier League referee of the last 10 or 15 years, but he wasn't a great referee in my opinion. He was very biased towards Manchester United, and the VAR audio was released and the referee says it clearly hits his arm. That's not the point I'm looking at, cool. And so he's falling down, he's moving his arms in towards him, so it's check complete for me. That's what the VAR referee said. And David Coote and Chris Kavanagh clearly hate Jurgen Klopp. They justified this and proved this many times before. And now, 3 weeks after the incident, I mean, why not come out 2 or 3 days after the incident when all the reviews are complete and the referees, are reviewing each other? That's probably a problem as well. And they clearly realized that the Odegaard handball was a big mistake, and they should have given Liverpool a penalty. And Webb said the on-field referee recognized that Odegaard had slipped and saw his arm go towards the ground. We've talked in the past about supporting arms if someone falls or breaks their fall with their arm. It's a pretty well established concept. In this situation though, there is an important difference to a normal player that's fallen. This is not just Odegaard accidentally falling onto the ball. His arm goes out and he pulls his arm back in towards his body, which is when the ball makes contact with his arm. But Odegaard didn't fall because he lost his balance. He fell because Salah skilled him. Salah went past him and Odegaard was trying to correct his movement, and in the process he was unbalanced because of Salah's skill, and Salah didn't push him. He just went past him with the ball, and Odegaard panicked and touched the ball with his arm multiple times. How did VAR not see this? I think there is a clear agenda and bias against Liverpool, and if it's not corruption or a clear bias against Liverpool and a clear agenda against Jurgen Klopp and his team, then nothing is. And a lot of rival fans say these things even themselves out during the season, but they do not. They do not. Liverpool should be 6 or 7 or 8 points better off if the referees made all the correct decisions in their games. How does that even themselves out during the season? I mean, I will only say if Liverpool get away with 6 or 7 points worth of game-altering decisions made against their opponent, made in favor of Liverpool in the second half of the season, that's the only way that it would even themselves out, these decisions. But that will clearly not happen, because like 75% of the referees absolutely hate Liverpool, absolutely hate Jurgen Klopp, and they try to hurt us as much as possible. I mean, once again they are trying to put Liverpool at a lunchtime Saturday kickoff slot after the next break or international break already. How does this happen always to Liverpool and not to the other clubs? I will never know. I absolutely hate Webb. He says the VAR looked at that aspect of Odegaard making contact with the ball with his arm. He thought it was a case of Odegaard trying to make himself smaller by bringing his arm back to his body. That is the element that's important here. Whether it's instinctive or deliberate, he gets a huge advantage by bringing the arm back towards the ball. The feedback we got back afterwards was very clear. The game expects a penalty in this situation, and I agree. As such, this one did not reach the right outcome on that basis. Do you hear the language that Webb is using? He's not really out and out condemning the referee and the VAR referee who made huge errors, huge blunders. He's basically buttering up his mates. It's all a big like boys club there at the PGMOL, and the referees are protecting each other, and the referees and even Webb are just buttering up each other, and they are even the way they talk to each other during the VAR process, it's like mates down at the pub having a pint, having a drink together. It doesn't sound and feel like a very professional environment, and it should be a very professional, very strict environment, because they are designing hundreds of millions of pounds where that money goes with each result, and with each Premier League position you could lose 2, 3, 4 million pounds worth of prize money. So I don't understand how Webb can lead still PGMOL when, I mean, how can a leader come out 3 weeks after the incident actually happened and just admit that they are wrong? I mean, it's great that they admitted that they are wrong, but they should have done this 2, 3, 4 days after that. But probably the heat would have been too much back then. Now, literally nobody was talking about the Odegaard handball incident anymore. And that's the problem probably with football, that we quickly move on to the next game. But the Liverpool fans won't forget all of these big, huge errors made to hurt Liverpool. And it absolutely boils my blood how the referees can get away with anything and everything, because they are protecting each other and there is no real consequences. I mean, the Luis Diaz offside call in the Tottenham game, that was the biggest refereeing controversy in Premier League's history. Do you know what the referee got Simon Hooper as punishment? He didn't have to referee for like 1 or 2 weeks. So he got a holiday. He actually got a holiday. How is that a punishment? I just don't understand. And also Simon Hooper, the same referee, will referee Liverpool again. How is that allowed? He will referee the Fulham-Liverpool League Cup semi-final second leg very soon. How is that allowed? That referee that cheated Liverpool out of a clear victory gets to referee Liverpool again just a few months later. I mean, the PGMOL would need an absolute and complete overhaul and restructuring. Webb needs to be sacked. A lot of these incompetent referees need to be sacked who make multiple huge mistakes. I mean, the PGMOL already had to issue like 15 or 16 apologies in the past 2 years because of refereeing mistakes. How can a really top league like the Premier League allow this to happen and allow this to go on? I just don't understand, honestly. It completely tarnishes and ruins the Premier League reputation around the world, in my opinion. And you know what's the biggest problem? When Arsenal are on the wrong side of VAR decisions, when Arsenal are on the wrong side of big refereeing calls, that they pull out press releases, and Arteta is saying that it's a disgrace that the referees missed these decisions. But when it benefits Arsenal and hurts another team, complete and utter silence. Remember Burnley manager Vincent Kompany? He said Liverpool should just get on with it, just like the Tottenham manager Ange Postecoglou. Liverpool should just get on with it after the Luis Diaz disallowed goal, which was a perfectly good goal, being robbed away from Liverpool. When Burnley and Tottenham were involved in their own really controversial refereeing decisions, then finally they started speaking up against the referees. But by that time it was too late, because nobody was taking them seriously, because they didn't side with Liverpool previously. And it is not about Liverpool, it's about the teams should come together and join forces and absolutely demand the Premier League for much better refereeing standards. Because the refereeing standards in the Premier League are simply not fit for the Premier League level. They should be in the Sunday League, these referees. Chris Kavanagh, David Coote and all the other absolute clowns should be in the Sunday League refereeing, or at least League 1, League 2 level. And the Premier League should have much better referees. When these referees make 5, 6, 7 blunders throughout the season, they shouldn't be able to referee in the Premier League anymore. Yes, you couldn't give them second chances, but when they make 5, 6, 7 huge mistakes in 10, 15 games during a season, then you can't let this go on anymore. Good process, guys. That's the famous saying now that it fits here. That was what was said when the Luis Diaz goal was disallowed. Good process. Absolute clowns. Bunch of idiots, these referees, man. And I think the reaction of the players at the time says it all, and I think the referees should look towards that as well. Odegaard looks guilty. He looks like sheepishly looking around, like, did everyone see that I just handballed it? And he looked nervously towards the referee. And that says to me, that body language of Odegaard says to me that it has to be a penalty. I mean, Odegaard clearly moves his arm towards the ball and stops the ball going through with Salah. Salah would have rounded Odegaard and probably shoot on goal if Odegaard didn't touch the ball with his hand in the penalty box. It's as clear a penalty as you will ever see, and that is intent. If you move your arm towards the ball and hit the ball, that is a penalty. I don't care what anyone says. Salah didn't hit the ball with a lot of power and it hits Odegaard's hand by accident. Salah dribbled around Odegaard and Odegaard moved his arm towards the ball and stopped the ball from going with Salah. That is as clear a penalty as I have seen in the Premier League this season. And that is the biggest problem, is that we have VAR, the greatest technology in football, and they still get it wrong. When they have 25 cameras and multiple, like 11 or 12 camera angles, and the amount of bad decisions that the Premier League referees make and VAR referees make that are so avoidable is absolutely staggering. And it's baffling, it's shocking, it's disgraceful. And it's not the technology's fault, it's not VAR's fault. It's the referees using the technology and still being absolutely blind idiots for not seeing the blatantly obvious fouls and penalties and even offsides. I mean, how can you get an offside wrong? They still get wrong the most basic things as well. And the problem is it happens every single week. At least one game, there is a massive refereeing mistake. How can that happen in the age of VAR? Well, I will tell you how these referees, the English referees, are simply not good enough to referee Premier League games. 70 or 50 or 60% of them shouldn't referee in this league. They should recruit young referees or get referees from abroad who are better. Because the Premier League has all kinds of world-class players from all over the world playing in the Premier League. And yet they have a bunch of clowns from England refereeing the Premier League. Why can't they import some referees from abroad who will improve the Premier League's quality? Well, I will tell you, because that would be a case of English referees admitting that they are not good enough themselves. But it should be the Premier League who are protecting their product. The brand of the Premier League is getting ruined and tarnished by these incompetent referees, and the Premier League should just say, I'm giving a PGMO a new direction. Sack Webb, put a new guy in charge who actually will work with foreign referees as well. Bring in foreign referees, give them, a decent salary, and put them on VAR. I mean, there are not that many horrendous VAR calls in the Bundesliga, in the Serie A, in the Spanish League. Yes, there are still mistakes, but not as much and not as many as in the Premier League, for sure. So Michael once said, I thought it was a penalty when Odegaard handballed it. Howard Webb, yes, so do I. Why do you have to take 3 weeks to come out with this statement? Why couldn't you come out after the game finished in 2 or 3 days and admit, yes, it was a huge mistake? A Liverpool fan said, you have to be the stupidest person on the planet not to think that it's not a penalty when Odegaard handballs it. I mean, I'm not sure about that, but if the person doesn't know football, then he's not really the stupidest person still. But still, yeah, the situation is clear that it should be a penalty. Let's move on to the Mo Salah injury news. So Jurgen Klopp said, we don't know anything. We spoke last night with Mo. There was an assessment. They will do that, and we will know more once the scan results are back. He felt it, and we know how rarely Mo Salah goes off injured. So it is definitely something, and I don't have any more information. There will be an ultrasound and an MRI test, and after those results come back, we will know more. But it could be a really bad hamstring injury, which would see Salah miss 1 or 2 months out with injury. Let's hope it's not a serious injury and he just misses a few games in the Africa Cup of Nations. And Egypt could come home early. They drew the first 2 games 2-2. So if they don't win the 3rd game, they could go home. Also, Japan lost to Iran after Endo scored in the last minutes in stoppage time from a corner, but Japan still lost. That is a real shock result because Japan were massive favorites against Iran. I still expect Japan to go through because they have a really bad team in their 3rd game and they already have a win. So Endo probably will not come home early. But Salah could come home early, depending on his injury, of course, when he's back. But it will be very interesting to find that out. And the good news is that Trent, Szoboszlai and Robertson are getting closer and closer. They won't be back for the Bournemouth game on the weekend, but they could be back after that. So that's very encouraging news from Jurgen Klopp. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. See you later, guys. Goodbye.